audit you're about to watch has made an Amazon seller over $500,000 in net profit. I'm joined by an expert in this video. His name is Tomer. He's an expert in the Amazon space, and he's going to walk through an audit. This is the same audit he uses with brands that he's helping exit. And one of the brands has used this audit and gained an additional $500,000 in their valuation. Now, this is going to be very detailed, so pay attention until the end. We're going to go through all the key components in an account, in the listing, images, packaging, cost of goods, all of the little details. And he's going to show you exactly what you need to do and what you need to look out for to improve your profits and your returns on Amazon. Tomer, thank you for joining me.
Hey, Mina. Good to be here.
Yeah, how's everything going? So quickly, for the people that don't know you, before we get into the audit, who are you and what do you do?
Sure. So I've been selling on Amazon since 2015, running multiple brands on my own. I also have 12 other brands that help them scale to an exit these days. I consulted some of the aggregators such as Branded Elevate Brands and been speaking all over the place and wrote a book called Ride the Amazon Wave, which all sold thousands of copies so far. So yeah, that's me.
And for everyone that doesn't know, Tomer is the reason that I have the Trivium group, my agency. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have an agency right now. So big thank you to you for, it was a connection that ended up in me getting an agency, basically. So let's dive right in. I think you have a slide that shows a summary of the key components that you look for in an account when you're auditing. So let's jump in and quickly skim through what those components are.
Sure. So Angry Orange is a brand that was sold to Thrasio a few years ago, and it was a very big exit, and it scaled up to $23.1 million from $2.5 million within 12 months. And my goal with this, I didn't get approval for Thrasio. Like, Thrasio is not attached to this in any way. I just did it with my team to see what they're doing now and how they can improve later on. So as you can see, they rebranded everything. They made a much nicer packaging. Their images are amazing. They do a lot of things right, but they are doing some things, I believe, in the wrong way. And this is what we wanted to show people. We wanted to show them that there are a lot of things you can even find with brands such as a Thrasio brand like Angry Orange that is very successful, that they can still do a lot better. So as you can see here, this is their portfolio here, and these are the main two products that they have, making around like $1 million. This is over 80% of their sales. They have some other products doing okay, and they have some bundles as well. So when it comes to what we look for, we look at all of these different areas of growth. So when it comes to Amazon, we'll look at the images, the branding, PPC, SEO. In this case, because we didn't get approval from them, we don't have like real access to PPC and COGS or anything like that. When it comes to products, we look at the packaging, functionality, and experience. I mean, customer experience. We actually buy their products, ship them to, I live in Israel. We ship them to Israel to my team, take everything apart and see what can be done better. We look at the freight, variations, new products that they're launching. We actually believe they made mistakes with new products they chose to launch, and we found some other products we would launch instead. And finally, marketplace expansion on different Amazon marketplaces, but also off Amazon marketplaces. So amazing. Yeah, if you want, I can dive into some examples of stuff that we found.
Yeah, let's go. And just to kind of break it down a little bit. So with Amazon, you're talking about like traffic and conversions. With the products, you're talking about the actual product. With logistics, you're talking about the operations and where you can shave some money, improve certain things. And then the other two are basically expansion. There's two ways to expand, in your opinion. One is variations, new products. The other way is expanding to new Amazon marketplaces or just completely off Amazon, maybe direct to consumer or Walmart or something like that.
Definitely. Yeah. And also when I help sellers exit, this is what we look for. We look at all of this and say, where is the biggest ROI, right? And what's the quickest win that we can make for this brand? And if you want to, it's very different if you want to exit in a year or in 5 years, right? It's just going to be a different thing. Looking at this is the main competitor they have. And every time we kind of refreshed, we saw that they go between the bestseller and second bestseller. They go between 1 and 2 all the time. And obviously when they have the bestseller badge, they sell a lot more units. So my intention was, let's see how we can make sure they keep the bestseller badge that they have. So we wanted to compare the two different products. In terms of images, Angry Orange is actually having much nicer images. You see them on the bottom here. These are all of the Angry Orange images compared to the other one. They're using, you have some bullet points here, but they're basically doing a phenomenal job, I think, with images. If you want to see what a good brand looks like, I think Angry Orange is it. I think they're doing a lot of things correctly there. The main thing that they're missing, the 10 gear image is missing, is one type of variation that the white one has and they don't have. And this is something that we pointed out in the full case study. The other thing that we notice is that how they position their main image is really important. And this is something, well, I don't know if it's really important. It's something that I picked up years ago. And when you look on mobile, this is what you see. And this is one thing I think they do correctly. I always try to get my products to point to the right. When you look on desktop, it doesn't really matter. But when you look on mobile, you have the picture, and then on the right side of it, you have the title, the price, the reviews, and I want a product to point towards that. If it points to the left side, it kind of throws you off. It doesn't point to like click here and like buy the product. So we always try to make it point to the right. And that's one thing they did right. And the other thing we noticed is that they are 4.3 star rating. And we bought the product, they actually had a lot of issues. And you can see here that it dropped from 4.4 to 4.3. And we noticed that this is something that is going to get them in trouble once they drop to 4.2, as we all know. My goal was to see what is actually going on. And when we tested the products, they actually have a real problem with the spray bottle. It doesn't function that well. And a lot of bad reviews are actually happening because of this. So that's a very simple thing they can actually fix. And they also have a lot of words mentioning the word shipped or shipping. And a lot of these reviews can actually be removed. Because if it was not sealed when it was shipped or something like that, a lot of times Amazon will actually remove those reviews. And that can also help them in the at least near future to kind of delete those reviews and get some of them removed. So you can also use ChatGPT and basically ask it, like, why do these reviews violate terms of service? And it will just tell you. And then you can open a case with Amazon and just claim the same thing.
Wow. Well, can we just pause real quick here? So is the process, number one, you feed the terms of service into ChatGPT regarding...
You don't feed it. It knows the terms of service of Amazon. You just say, already, why does this review violates Amazon's TOS? Write a case for me. And then you just copy paste it and send it to Amazon.
Wow. I did not know this, and I am going to immediately try this right now on all of my negative reviews.
Great. I will say it works maybe 5% of the time, but it is still 5%. It's a lot. So
yeah, it's a lot. Because before you could never remove a 1-star review. Honestly, right. That's kind of new, right? Because I remember like 2018, 2019, no matter what you did, you could never, even 2020, you could never remove a review, a 1-star review.
Well, you could. It depends on the words that they actually have. So again, shipping and shipped and things like that, usually a lot of them can be removed, if it's anything like that, or if it was damage in transit or...
Wow.
Because then if you think about it, it's more of a seller feedback than an Amazon review. You know how you get seller feedback and you say, we used to say in the past, like, this is not a review, it's a seller feedback, right? So it's the opposite here. It's actually a seller feedback instead of a review. So that's why you asked to get it removed.
Got it.
So as you can see, we actually bought the products from Thrasio. And one of the products that we bought was this UV flashlight. This is basically a spray, a light that they put on top of the sprayer. It has a glue over there, and it just shows you where the stains are. And that's how you use the product. Now, what we wanted to do is we wanted to shrink the packaging in a way that it will become small standard instead of large standard. And we noticed that this is a very big packaging. And if you just look here, you will see that this is the size of packaging. To make it small standard, all we need to do is make the shortest size 0.75 inches. This is usually the tough part when it comes to making it small standard size. And this was the current size up here. So we used our friends over at Signify to help with this. And we showed them this is how we want to pack the product. We measure this. This was our idea. Instead of putting it like this, it was over here. The battery was over here. And they didn't have instructions or anything. The instructions are actually on the back of the box. So it has no reason for this size of packaging. It's just, I think, like a branding thing that they wanted to do, but I don't think anybody cares. So we came up with this packaging together with Signify. And as you can see, this is like 0.7 inch and everything else fits. And we also did some mock-ups here of a design that will fit even better inside of this packaging.
Wow.
So with all of this, we actually asked our friends over at SoulStock what can be done and like how much money will they actually save based off of this. So they said it's going to be 64 cents per unit and $590 per month in profit. Now, this is a product that doesn't sell that much. It does 11K revenue a month.
So if it was doing 100, if it was doing 100K in revenue a month, that would be 6K in profit per month.
Exactly.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So again, this is just one example, right? Like a very low hanging fruit of something you can do. And when we do our audits, we just get all the products and we just kind of take them apart and see what can be done. And this is missed by a lot of sellers in terms of what is the next tier and what is, anyway, this is a lot. This is from large standard to small standard, but a lot of times you have different tiers. Even inside of large standard, you can just go into a lower tier and pay less money. So we do all of that analysis. Yeah, so this is where you can see that they were actually missing the 32 Oz size. They don't have that size. And this is 81% of all the sales are coming from the 32 size. And it's kind of crazy they don't have that size here. They do have it on a different listing. But if they would merge the two to the same listing, they will dominate the number one bestseller because they will have both on the same one. And I think in this case, it's worth it than having more real estate. They can still disconnect some stuff from here if they wanted to. But because it's such a big difference between the bestseller and the second in line, then I would definitely try to keep the bestseller badge as much as I can.
What if they just added a 34 ounce?
They could, but the most common one in this category is 32. So I think it's pretty standard. They could do that, right? But
because then they would keep the extra real estate and they would have a new variation that's, you know, that size that everyone wants.
They can also do that. They can also just add a 32 Oz here instead of adding that other one, right? They can also have a 32 one if they wanted to. They have a lot of different options, but the point is that this is like the biggest one that they have. It doesn't make any sense, you know, on this listing when this guy's selling a 32 for the same price, right? Like, and we both know that they can definitely sell the same price for a 32 Oz as well. And my argument was if they just had a 32 at the same price, they will just, that's it. That's all they need to do. They don't need to even change this price, right? That will seem like such a good deal for the buyer that, anyway, that was my take on that. Yeah, so when it comes to how we also do things, we have our own way of looking at market share and we look at many different things. We have something we call the puppy report. I actually try to open it up here, but it doesn't really open, to show you like what we did for specifically for Angry Orange and how we analyzed all of this stuff. But basically what we try to do is we look at, again, Amazon, the products themselves, logistics, scale expansion, and marketplace expansion. And we try to improve everything that we can, right? In this case, we didn't go very deep into images, but a lot of times there is like one type of an image that they can do and they're not doing. We just did this with a brand that we onboarded that is selling kitchenware, you can say. So they have this pot set, right? Like a very big set of like 15 pieces, and they don't have an image showing everything that you're getting with it. It's all scattered between different images. And when you look at the competitors, they all have that same image, right? So that's an image that they're missing. And they have beautiful images, everything looks great, but they're missing some key images in their portfolio.
Okay, beautiful. And so when it comes to logistics, talk to me a little bit more there, or is that coming?
No, so we didn't have like their analysis, and I would love to show you some stuff that we did with brands in terms of logistics, but we cannot expose the brands that we worked with. But what happened was, so I have some cool stories about this. So we had this brand, and what we do is we usually reach out to some factories in Alibaba just to show them that they can actually save on price, right? And we give the exact same specs as the other products. So we reached out to some suppliers and we got a price like $2 less than what they were paying. And when we showed them the invoice, it was actually their supplier costing $2 less when we asked for the offer. So when they saw this, they were shocked because they always asked their supplier for a discount. And when we reached out to the supplier just asking for like 2,000 units, they gave us $2 off. So that just shows it that suppliers, a lot of times, if they don't think you will leave them, they're not going to give you better prices in most cases. So you really need to find better suppliers with better prices, and then you can always go back to your supplier and ask for a discount. And obviously you want to do inspections to make sure you don't damage the quality of your products. But this is one of the biggest saves that we find in almost every brand that we work with, is saving money on the cost of goods sold. I'll give you another example. There is this seller that we worked with selling, let's say, pots for plants and things like that. So he has a very big variety of products, a lot of SKUs, and he's working with mainly one factory in China. And what happens is you ask for 500 units of this, 1,000 units of that when you launch a new product, and it adds up. Right? He has like 100 SKUs right now, a lot of different products, but every time he makes an order, it's like I need the MOQ of 500 units. So the supplier is kind of like not necessarily giving him a better price for it based on the rest of the business that he's giving him. So what we did is we took the entire sales of the year and we went to other suppliers and said, this is how much we sell a year, right? From this brand. What can you do for us? And then we got crazy discounts as a result. So when you negotiate, when you are growing your brand, and if people are, I know we are before Canton Fair right now, if people are going to Canton Fair and they're doing 7 figures a year right now, I would argue that the best thing you can do, the easiest win you can do for your business is look for suppliers who are already selling your existing products. Because on those products, you can almost always save money and negotiate. If you're doing 7 figures with those products a year, those suppliers will want your business and will be willing to pay and sacrifice like a bit of profit that your supplier might not necessarily do. Once you get that offer, you can see the quality in real time. Once you get an offer from the supplier, go back to your old supplier and say, hey, this is what the new supplier is offering me. If you don't change it, I'm going to leave and move over to them instead. And I know you have a relationship with supplier, but this is all business, right? And we were able to save so much money just by doing the simple process. And again, a lot of sellers are just in the grind and are just like launching more products and not thinking about, I sell, 12,000 units a year, 30,000 units a year of this one product. I should, and when you try to sell it, you want to show an entire year of sales to a new supplier and say, I sell 30,000 units a year. What price can you give me for 30,000 units a year that I sell? Right? And you start by producing like for once a month or once every 3 months, whatever you want to do. But that's the quote that you're getting for.
Very nice. Now, so we covered Amazon, right? Images are going to be important. SEO, PPC, if obviously, when it comes to PPC, I've done so many audits. SEO, you use a tool called Data Dive. Now, I want to cover a couple of things that I feel like we didn't cover yet. So
I can also show one thing about PPC actually. So let me show this. So when it comes to PPC, what we notice is that when it comes to sponsored product, sponsored brand, sponsored display, it usually splits like this. So I would say sponsored products is between 75 to 85% of all of PPC spend. And then the rest of it is between sponsored brands and sponsored display. Whenever we see that sponsored display is doubled in sponsored brands, or we see that sponsored products is 50%, a lot of times sponsored display is zero, right? Like different things that we see, we just know this is a very easy win to start like more ads or to optimize. So that's like, we do it in more of like a bird eye view, right? I don't know how you say it exactly, but that's how we kind of look at it from an outside, just to make sure that it's at least like close to being optimized. And then the other thing that we look at is the tacos of the PPC, and we want to make sure that it's not higher than the actual margin of the business. If it is, usually it can be further optimized. And we usually try to be 12% or lower. Some cases, obviously, it's going to be 15%. It just depends. But if it's 20%, something is probably wrong with how they do PPC. So this is just a very simple overview that anyone can do right now for their business. And I also highly recommend you talk to agencies, because if you think about your business and you want to sell it at some point, treat it as if you sold your business today and you're the buyer. And what would you do first? You're going to do audit on PPC. You're going to look for new suppliers to save on cost. You're going to check what variations, new products you can launch. You're going to do all of this. So do it today, right? To save that money now. And then when you actually sell the brand, you're in a much better position than you are now.
Definitely. And so going back to the list, can you talk a little bit about freight? What are some things that you're doing when it comes to freight?
Sure. So one of the things that I see that is very common is for sellers to produce everything in China, send it over to a 3PL, and then ship it from there to Amazon, to drip it from there to Amazon. What we do is we hold 2 to 3 months of stock in the 3PL at any given time. And then we try to produce everything from China and ship it directly into Amazon once a month. So imagine I produce for 3 months, I pay a deposit for 3 months, let's say 30%. That's what I'm paying. Every month, I'm going to pay the 70% and drip once a month into Amazon directly. If I need more stock, if a stock gets delayed, I have my extra stock at the 3PL to ship whenever I need. This is something we've been doing for many years. The factory is usually going to give you like 1, 2, 3 months of free storage just to hold your stock if needed. So we don't have a warehouse in China or anything like that. And this has served us really well for over the years. When it was COVID, we couldn't really do it. So we just shipped everything from the 3PL. But these days, you don't have any issues with freight. This is how we do it. And it's working really well. The other thing that it does, it helps a lot with your cash flow. If you're still producing, let's say every 3 months, and ship your entire stock every 3 months, you have a lot of money tied into inventory for those 3 months until you sell the entire stock.
Okay, and so the idea here is you can tell your manufacturer, hey, I'd like you to make 3 months worth of inventory, but then drip it to Amazon while having backup 3 months at a 3PL in America.
Right. So imagine you sell 1,000 units a month to keep it simple. I would have 2,000 units in Amazon. As soon as I get to 1,000 in Amazon, I will have another 1,000 coming in every single month. If for a sudden I have like a lightning deal or I have a 70 deal and something happens and I see that I'm going to sell out, I'm going to ship another 1,000 from my 3PL or ship early from the factory. But they always have a backup plan and they never run out of stock, right? That's the hope.
The killer. Okay. So let's move on to catalog expansion. This is the easy one, variations. How do you think about variations? You showed us a little bit, when it comes to like, what are the top sellers? So is your process going into other competitors and looking at their top sellers and then seeing like, which ones should we launch based on that?
So we actually have our own internal tool that we built for variation analysis. If you use Helium 10 or Jungle Scout or whatever tool you're using, the problem is you don't see revenue on the variation level. And that's exactly what we've built internally, because then I can see across the board, let's say I'm selling a yoga mat, I can see how many of my competitors are selling a black yoga mat. What is the most common color? What is the most common color in terms of sellers who are actually selling that color? What is the best selling color in terms of revenue as well?
Okay, very nice. And then when it comes to new products, what about that? How are you looking at?
Yeah, and so with variations is usually color, size, and quantity. And most sellers don't have enough variations on their products. This is such an easy win. Like I just showed you with Angry Orange, it's so obvious, right? To me, when I look at such a listing and say they are going back and forth between first and second, a very easy win for them. It's the same factory almost always. And it's super simple. So let me just show you. This is an older version of this, but let me still show it to you. This is something called the Puppy Report. We did a lot of iterations on this. It's a tool that is available in our Top Dog community as well, like for the cells that we have there with all of the updates. But basically, this is a bed riser. It's something that elevates the bed. And you can see here, like the most common color in terms of the value is the actual revenue here. So 790K a month is coming from the black color. You have the brown here, you have the red, the orange, and then you have the top permutations in niche. You see Ethiopia bedding is doing 43% of the entire category, the entire niche here. So this is a very powerful tool once you understand how to calculate revenue on the variation level and how you can kind of color code each and every variation that you have. We do the same thing, not just for colors, we do it for size and quantity. So that pot, for example, that pot kitchenware set that I mentioned, the most common set, I think, is like 14 piece or 17 piece. And we told them just launch that variation because everyone is selling the same tools, everyone is selling the same thing. And that generates like 30% of the market, and you don't have that specific set. So that's the set that you're missing to be a part of that 30% market share. This is such an easy win. And again, most sellers are launching the wrong variations because they're just guessing. They don't really know. And they usually use, again, different tools, but they only look at one listing at a time instead of doing this and looking at the entire market at one time.
Mm-hmm. That's very smart. I love that. And then are you looking for new products in the search query performance report, or how do you look at new products?
So within Gearing, I actually have an example here. They were launching poop bags and a bunch of other products that are completely saturated, and there is almost no chance they will ever rank them or make any money off of them because they're saturated. What I mean by saturated is when you type in dog bags or poop bags on Amazon, you will find that a lot of products on the first page have thousands of reviews, but barely making any revenue anymore. That means they made revenue in the past, but they're not making that anymore. And if you go to the listings, you will see beautiful listings. Everything looks great, but it's just saturated. There is too much supply, not enough demand to kind of fill that gap. Mm-hmm. So if it was my brand, right, this is a product that we found, which is an air filter. And what they did what this seller did with this specific thing is they only targeted cats and dogs odor in their product. And they're the only ones doing this product. This product on its own is selling 10,000 units a month across all variations combined. This is like 300, 500K a month in sales. They're the only one with 2,000 reviews. If Thrasio is going into this, they're going to be the second seller. And this is a big keyword. Like the keyword here of like cat and dog odor is a big keyword, and air filter and so and this is selling, right? And this is the only one. I would argue they can take at least 20%, 30% market share from this seller very easily because this is the only product this seller has. And you can just see the variations here, like a 2-pack, 4-pack, 6-pack, the sizes, very simple images here throughout. So such an easy win for Thrasio, and I would do this every day, all day long, instead of going after the most competitive products in the niche that are oversaturated. And even if you get to 10,000 reviews, you might still not make any profit. This is so much easier.
And how are you looking for products like that? Are you just like looking at all of the products in the market or what?
So we have our own ways of looking for products. Right now, we mainly use Helium 10 Black Box. We also have our own like internal tools that we built to find products based on different things. You can also like, let's say you download a brand analytics report once a week. Let's say for the past year, you could see trends of keywords that are coming up, right? What is actually trending up? You could even filter what is trending up for the past year that went over like $5,000 in SFR, right? Or whatever filter you want to do. Very simple tool to build if you want to build it yourself. So that's like one thing you can do. And we are also working with Carbon 6 to be like another product research tool. It's going to be very cool. And it's going to be like a game changer, I think, for the industry once it's actually functional.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Okay. And then, the final question that I have for you is expansion. So how do you look at global expansion for Amazon?
Yeah. So I think this really depends. It really depends on the product that you're selling, what you want to get out of the brand. We currently have a brand, for example, that is doing like $4 million revenue a year, and they want to scale up to like 15, 20 million a year. To do that, they can keep launching products, right, on Amazon, but that's probably not going to be enough. They need to do things outside of Amazon as well. So we are helping them with some Shopify stuff. We have some personalization things that we think they should do in terms of engraving their products and gifting them. And we have a lot of ideas, but you will have to kind of step out of whatever it is you're doing and tap into something new. It might even be, let's say you're selling, again, the yoga mat example. You might want to partner up with a yoga instructor and sell a course, or sell their course or sell your own course on your website from the insert of your products. Like you might want to scale up to like those type of areas in order to really scale the brand and make it also a lot more lucrative to many different buyers that will actually want a real brand with an audience and a bunch of other things. But 90% of the time, I would recommend to keep the marketplace expansion to the buyer. I would recommend the seller not to expand to Europe if they're not there already. I would recommend them not to go down the rabbit hole of Shopify or even Walmart, because let's say you expand to Europe. What if you don't have the capacity? What if you don't have enough funding for that? What if it doesn't work, right? If it doesn't work, it's such a big risk because the buyer is going to say, oh, you tried Europe, it doesn't work. I cannot scale to Europe, So a lot of times it's too much of a risk. And there is so much low-hanging fruit that can be done before this, right? And when we help a brand to kind of scale to an exit, we come in maybe 2 or even 3 years before the actual exit happens. So we have a lot of time to actually focus on all of these areas and help them grow. And this usually is one of the things that actually comes last. Like Canada, for example, is very simple. And the other thing that I noticed with marketplace expansion is that most sellers do it the wrong way. What I mean by that is that they think they go to, let's say, Amazon UK or Amazon Germany, look at the revenue and thinking, oh, I'm going to make this much revenue. What they should be doing is they should be looking at the brands that are in the US and they're also in Germany. And let's say in the US, they do 50K a month. And in the UK, they do 5K a month. That's 10% of what they're doing in the US. So they can expect to do 10% themselves as well. Maybe they look at Germany and see a brand doing 200K a month, but that's a German brand and a known brand in Germany. And they shouldn't be looking at that because that is not apples to apples comparison.
Got it. Perfect. Dude, this was very, very, very informative. I loved it. I mean, there's a lot here, honestly. Like now, like you got me thinking, I have to go down the rabbit hole because when it comes to the Amazon side of things, I want to say I'm pretty dialed in, like images, branding, PPC, SEO. But then I haven't considered packaging and experience for a while. I haven't considered, cost of goods. I haven't considered variations. So there's a lot like that I'm now like going to start looking into, based off of this video. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
So I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you just type Tomer Rabinovich, you'll find me there. Just feel free to message me. Also, if you go to jointopdog.com, that's our website and the bunch of different services that we offer. And also our community is there. One thing I will mention as well that is very important. I think we don't have enough people in this industry that can take a holistic view of your brand all in one like this. You have Mina here, who is amazing at PPC and maybe a bunch of other things. And you have someone who is very good at logistics, and you have all these different experts on different areas, but no one is zooming out and kind of seeing everything at one time and saying, this is where you should focus to double your business right now. And that's what I'm doing, right? That's what I'm helping sellers with.
Yeah, that's crucial. Yeah, because it's almost like you want the specialist, but you also want someone who's like a strategic advisor that looks at things from the top and looks at what lever can you pull. It could be PPC, it could be images, it could be expansion, it could be logistics. There's all of these experts, but which one should you use first? And that's, I think, where you come in. And I've noticed that, for a while, and it's pretty useful. Thanks, Tomer, for sharing, man. I mean, this is amazing.
Thank you so much, Mina. Always good to see you.
All right. Catch you in the next video, guys.